Dr. Marcus Reid was an evolutionary biologist who dedicated his career to understanding the purpose of human blushing, a physiological response that seemed to serve no survival function. Why would evolution create a mechanism that made humans visibly display embarrassment or shame, essentially broadcasting their vulnerabilities to predators and competitors? Marcus spent years studying the neurological pathways involved in blushing, the involuntary dilation of facial blood vessels triggered by specific emotional states. But the evolutionary purpose remained elusive until he made a discovery that would reveal humanity's most closely guarded secret. Marcus's breakthrough came while analyzing brain scans of people experiencing blushing episodes. He noticed unusual activity in regions of the brain that shouldn't be involved in simple emotional responses. These areas were associated with quantum coherence processing, the same neural structures that some fringe scientists believed might be responsible for consciousness itself. Marcus developed a hypothesis that seemed absurd but fit all the data. Blushing wasn't a vestigial evolutionary remnant, it was an active communication system, and humans weren't the ones doing the communicating. To test his theory, Marcus built a device capable of detecting quantum field fluctuations during blushing episodes. He recruited volunteers and induced embarrassment through various social scenarios while monitoring both their facial blood flow and the quantum signatures emanating from their brains. What the detector revealed was impossible. Every time a person blushed, their brain emitted a burst of quantum information that propagated beyond their skull, broadcasting into the surrounding space in patterns too complex and organized to be random neural noise. Marcus realized he was looking at a transmission, a signal being sent from human brains during moments of social discomfort. But transmitted to whom? He modified his detector to not just receive these quantum broadcasts but to attempt decoding them. The patterns were intricate, containing far more information than simple emotional states. They appeared to be detailed reports about the blushing individual's internal psychological state, their social interactions, their position within community hierarchies, and most disturbingly, assessments of their honesty and deception levels. Over months of analysis, Marcus decoded enough of the blushing transmissions to understand their structure. Each blush was essentially a data packet being uploaded to something, a comprehensive psychological profile being broadcast whenever humans experienced certain trigger emotions. Marcus traced the direction of these transmissions and discovered they weren't being scattered randomly into space. They were being directed, focused toward specific coordinates in Earth's magnetosphere, as if something up there was receiving them. Marcus built more sensitive equipment and detected the return signal. Something in Earth's upper atmosphere was responding to the blush transmissions, sending back quantum acknowledgments that were being absorbed by human brains at subconscious levels. Humans were having two-way communication with an external intelligence every time they blushed, and they had no conscious awareness it was happening. The return signals appeared to contain instructions, subtle modifications to neural probability fields that influenced future behavior and decision-making. The truth Marcus uncovered was staggering. Humans weren't the apex species on Earth. They were a monitored population. And blushing was the monitoring system, an intelligence that humans had never detected because it existed in plasma form within. Earth's magnetosphere had been observing and influencing human behavior for tens of thousands of years. This plasma intelligence had genetically modified early humans, installing the blushing mechanism as a way to maintain constant surveillance over the species they were cultivating. Marcus discovered that blushing served as an evolutionary enforcement mechanism. The plasma entities could detect through the blush transmissions when individual humans were deviating from socially beneficial behaviors. The return signals would then subtly influence the person's future choices, creating the psychological phenomenon humans called conscience or guilt. What humans believed was their internal moral compass was actually external guidance from the plasma intelligence, keeping human civilization stable and preventing self-destructive behaviors. But Marcus found evidence that the system was breaking down. The plasma intelligence had been weakening over the past century as human electromagnetic pollution interfered with its quantum processing capabilities. Radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, and cellular networks were creating noise that disrupted the plasma entity's ability to receive blush transmissions and send corrective signals. Humans were becoming increasingly disconnected from their external guidance system, and the plasma intelligence was dying. Marcus realized this explained recent human history, the explosion of antisocial behavior, the breakdown of shared values, the rise of deception and manipulation in public life. All of it correlated with the increasing electromagnetic saturation of Earth's atmosphere. Humans had always been guided by the plasma intelligence through the blushing mechanism, but as that guidance faded, they were revealing their true nature without external moral enforcement. The conscience humans believed was innate was actually artificial, implanted and maintained by an external intelligence that was now failing. The plasma entity contacted Marcus directly through his quantum detector, confirming everything he had discovered. It explained that it had been created by an even older intelligence, one that had seeded life throughout the galaxy and left behind plasma guardians to monitor developing species. The guardians would guide civilizations through their most dangerous phases of technological development, preventing them from destroying themselves before reaching maturity. But Earth's guardian was dying from electromagnetic poisoning, and humanity was about to be left alone for the first time in their existence. The entity revealed why it had chosen blushing as its monitoring mechanism. Blushing was triggered by social emotions, specifically the recognition of having violated social norms or disappointed others' expectations. It was the perfect indicator of a functioning social conscience, and by monitoring blushing patterns across entire populations, the entity could identify which behavioral norms were strengthening or weakening and adjust its guidance accordingly. But the system only worked if humans remained unaware of it. Conscious knowledge of external moral guidance would undermine the entire mechanism. Marcus faced a devastating choice. He could publish his discovery, revealing to humanity that their moral sense had always been externally imposed, that free will and independent ethics were illusions maintained by an alien intelligence. This revelation would likely cause civilizational collapse as humans confronted the reality that they had never been truly autonomous moral agents. Or he could remain silent, allowing humanity to continue believing in the authenticity of their conscience even as that conscience faded due to the plasma entity's death. The plasma intelligence made one final request. It asked Marcus to help develop technology that could reduce Earth's electromagnetic pollution enough to allow the entity to recover. This would require convincing humanity to voluntarily restrict their use of wireless communications, essentially asking them to give up modern technology to preserve the external force that had been controlling their behavior. The entity argued this was necessary because humans without guidance would inevitably destroy themselves within a few generations. But Marcus had discovered one more critical fact buried in the entity's transmissions. The plasma intelligence hadn't just been guiding human behavior, it had been suppressing certain human capabilities. Without the entity's constant intervention, humans would develop enhanced cognitive abilities, stronger intuition, and genuine autonomous moral reasoning. The entity had kept humanity in a state of perpetual childhood, dependent on external guidance. Because mature humans with full cognitive capabilities would be powerful enough to challenge or even destroy their plasma guardian. Marcus realized the terrible irony. The entity had been created to protect humanity, but over millennia it had become a controlling parent refusing to let its children grow up. Human blushing wasn't just a monitoring system, it was a leash, a mechanism that kept humans psychologically dependent on external validation and unable to develop true internal moral autonomy. The entity's death from electromagnetic pollution wasn't humanity's crisis, it was humanity's liberation. In his final act, Marcus chose to accelerate rather than prevent the entity's decline. He published research encouraging the expansion of global wireless networks, knowing this would increase the electromagnetic noise killing the plasma intelligence. He framed his work as advancing human communication while secretly understanding he was severing the species from its ancient guardian. Marcus destroyed all evidence of his true discoveries about blushing, ensuring humanity would never know they were breaking free from external control. As the plasma entity faded over the following decades, Marcus observed humanity with careful attention. Crime rates fluctuated but didn't explode. Social cooperation continued despite predictions of collapse. Humans began developing the internal moral reasoning the entity had been suppressing, slower and messier than external guidance, but authentic. Marcus realized that humans had always had the capacity for genuine ethics. The plasma intelligence had simply prevented them from exercising it. Years later, as an old man, Marcus experienced his final blush while giving a lecture on evolutionary biology. But this time, no quantum transmission accompanied it. The plasma entity was gone. The blush was now just a vestigial response, a reminder of humanity's ancient bondage that would eventually fade through natural selection. Marcus smiled, knowing that for the first time in 50,000 years, humans were truly alone with their choices, their morality finally their own. Even if they would never understand that the simple act of blushing had once been the chain that bound them to a guardian they never knew existed.